another project I wanted to talk about, because again, you've worked with some pretty amazing people, and that's Adrenaline Mob. You'd worked with Mike Portnoy in that band. And then after Portnoy steps aside, in comes AJ Pero from Twisted Sister. So two great drummers that you got to work with. Tell us a little bit about Adrenaline Mob.
Adrenaline Mob is like Led Zeppelin virtuoso. Those guys were outrageous. So for years, I'm playing in bands where we're playing to a click. I'm a machine, Union Underground, Disturbed. It's like, do. Adrenaline Mob was the band I got into actually right after Disturbed took our hiatus. That was the first band. Okay. So Portnoy knew of me because Avenged Sevenfold had toured with Disturbed on one of the fests that were going around at the time. I forgot which one. And so me and Portnoy had become friends, and when they needed a bass player, he was the one who recommended me. He reached out to me. And so I show up, and it's so I don't know if you know Russell Allen. Well, I know you know Russell Allen from Symphony X. He's the singer. Russell Allen is 6'4" of the most beautiful voice you've ever heard in your life. That guy could sing the phone book. It's fucking incredible.
I agree.
And his pitch is perfect, and he never has to warm up. He's just the most gifted singer I've ever met in my life. It's fucking incredible. And the guitar player's name's Mike Orlando. Mike Orlando was a total shredder. Like, one of those guys is like goes to NAMM every year and has all the endorsements, but you don't know who he is because he hasn't had his breakthrough band yet. But he's that guy. He knows all the scales, he knows all the riffs, he can play anything. Just another virtuoso, right? And then Mike Portnoy, we don't even need to talk about him. Dream Theater, 12 years in a row voted best progressive drummer on the planet. Yeah. So you're talking like three really. When we talk about musicians that are really great but not famous, now we're talking about like three great musicians who are like semi-famous, well, especially Portnoy, but making it happen. And they wrote, a great record. So, and they brought me in. I came in. The first record I did not play on, but we toured it. And then AJ Pero comes in, and then we did a cover record called Coverta. I did that with Mike Portnoy. And then the third record, I did with AJ Pero, and I, played bass on that one. So I did 3 records with Adrenaline Mob, and we toured Europe, we toured South America. We were there, we were doing it. It was happening.
Yeah.
Great players. Here's what I wanted to get to though. It changed the way I played bass. So for years, I'm a very specific player. Like once I learned how to play a part, I played the same way every time. That's not what these guys do. They play the essence of the song. Every night's a different performance. It was wild. I'm chasing Mike Portnoy, trying to get him and I to lock in on some kind of like groove thing. And it's just not happening because he plays it differently every night. And I'm looking at Mike Orlando and I'm like, what's the riff you play at the end of this? Bro, I don't know. Blah, 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 blah. And I'm looking at Russell Allen. Russell sings different melodies every night, whatever he feels. They're just like so good that they don't have to there's no muscle memory. They just do it. It comes from their head and their heart, not their fingers. It's fucking wild. So it took a while for me to find my groove with those guys. And I finally did. And it's crazy how it clicked. I'm chasing Mike on drums. It's not working. I just could feel it. It's just like they had no problem with it. They thought it was all good. But for me, I was like, no, we're not glued together like we need to be.
So you were in a jazz band.
I was in a jazz band. So one day the monitor guy goes, okay, you want kick in your monitor? No. You want guitar in your monitor? No.
Wow.
He goes, what do you want in your monitor? I go, you know what? I don't want anything. And I just played the song and ignored the band. Know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I just played the way I want the song to sound from bass instead of trying to work with them. I swear to God, that's the day we became a band. It was like all of a sudden I was the foundation and they were playing around me. I was the consistent. I was and I always had impeccable tempo. That wasn't a big deal from playing to a click for so many years. So, Mike could go off on some fill. He'd go off, even try to lose me. It would never happen because I know my tempo, So whenever Mike would start going off on one of his crazy fills, I just tap my foot, I'd stay in the groove, and he'd land that thing, bam. And I'm like, we're a band. This is it. I cracked the fucking code. I have to ignore you guys, and now we're great. But it worked because those guys you can't all be soloing all the time. You need somebody who's, to solo too. and that ended up being me. And I was sort of the consistent guy playing the song with the consistent riffs. And they were the ones that were like working all over. And we became a great band. I remember when it happened. Very interesting story. And like we would do breakdowns, like middle of the song. I never knew when it's coming. My first gig with these guys in New York, they're like, "Oh, break it down. We introduced the band. All right, we're playing. Oh, we got Michael Lando on guitar. Okay, cool. And then Mike Portnoy. We got John Moyer over here. Give us a lick, John." And I'm like, blah, blah, blah. No, come on, man. I'm like, no, it's cool. He's like, "No, you're going to solo into the microphone." I'm like, fuck me, okay? Totally like just walking a high wire every night. I remember Mike's playing along and he stops the drums and I stop. And Mike says in the microphone, "No, keep going, John." "Oh, okay, I'll just keep going." Dude, those guys are so amazing. And I learned so much from them. My tone got better. My playing got better. I changed my gear. I use Spectres now because of them. Those guys made me such a much better player. And then when Union Underground got back together after my time with Art of Anarchy, my time with Adrenaline Mob, my time playing with Geoff Tate, when Disturbed got back together after our hiatus, I was a monster. I'm coming in just like, I never stopped. Those guys kind of took breaks, and David did his side project and Dan did his side project, but none of them were working as hard as I was, or with as many different bands, as many different influences. And I just picked it all up like a sponge. So, that little hiatus, that little 4-year hiatus we took, it was a huge thing for me as a musician. I think it's important to play with other people. That you get really good when you get those other influences. Unfortunately, most bands don't get to do that because, like I said earlier, when you're in a band, it's like your gang. You don't really stray. Like Metallica said, we're a fist. We don't do side projects. This is us. And I respect that mentality. But unfortunately, as a musician, you can lose opportunities to really learn unless you're jamming with other people.
Yeah.